She was humiliated and thrown out of the party simply because her skin was the wrong color. But Amelia decided she wouldn't let them dictate who she was or where she belonged. Challenging a biased world, she created an event that shook everyone accustomed to exclusive circles. The way she changed their rules of the game would surprise even the most seasoned insiders. But let's start from the very beginning. Amelia, a young black woman, entered the club with her invitation in hand, her heart pounding. She knew this was her chance to make a name for herself among influential designers and gallery owners. The party was lively. Expensive dresses, champagne, and famous faces. She felt a mix of excitement and slight fear, but she believed in herself. Amelia carefully studied the room, planning who she should speak to first. As she approached the bar, she heard whispers behind her. A couple of women in designer dresses glanced at her briefly and exchanged a few words. Their reaction made her uneasy. Amelia was familiar with racial bias, and from their looks, it was clear they were judging her not for her appearance or attire, but because of her skin color. She decided to ignore it, focusing on her goal. The hostess of the event, Sarah, a blonde woman dressed in a high-end outfit, walked toward her. She stopped in front of Amelia with a forced smile. "Excuse me, but this is a private event. I believe you may be in the wrong place," she said coldly, looking Amelia up and down. Amelia didn't understand at first, but soon it became clear. She was not wanted there because of her skin color. Her attempts to explain that she was invited were met with open disdain. "I think it would be best if you left before this becomes awkward for everyone," Sarah added, nodding to the security guard standing nearby. The guard wasted no time, politely yet firmly escorting Amelia out the door. Everything happened so quickly that she didn't even get the chance to protest. Standing on the street in front of the closed door, she felt a mixture of humiliation and anger, realizing that she'd been thrown out simply because she didn't fit into their perfect world. After that humiliating evening, Amelia spent weeks feeling crushed. She avoided calls from friends and colleagues, and social media constantly reminded her of the party she was no longer welcome at. Every post from attendees discussing their successes brought on a wave of bitterness. She replayed the scene with Sarah in her mind, over and over, wondering why it had happened to her. Amelia tried to return to her design projects, but the work just wouldn't flow. Her usual inspiration was gone. She felt like an outsider in a world that didn't seem to have a place for her. Even the simplest tasks became overwhelming. Her hands, once deft in sketching dresses, could barely hold a pencil now. She started doubting her talent, worrying that she would never succeed in this industry. The situation was made worse by the constant reminders of her place whenever she tried to attend social events or business meetings. Managers ignored her business card, her work was overlooked at exhibitions, and it felt as though the entire industry had closed its doors on her. Her family, living in another city, supported her from afar with calls and occasional visits. They encouraged her not to give up, but the internal doubt and pain kept her from moving forward. Amelia felt as though she had let down not only herself, but also those who believed in her. She spent long stretches alone, consumed by thoughts about whether it had been worth it to move to the city and try to break into the fashion world. But one day, over coffee with a friend who had also faced workplace discrimination, Amelia heard something that changed her perspective. "Why are you letting them decide where you belong? Your strength isn't in being accepted by them. It's in accepting yourself." These words ignited a spark within her. She realized she couldn't let one humiliation destroy her dreams. After Amelia decided that she would no longer let anyone dictate where she belonged, she took action. Inspired by her friend's words, she set a goal for herself: to organize an event that would change society's views on the creativity and talents of people of all colors. She wanted to create more than just a party. She wanted a cultural event that would stand as a symbol of equality and support for everyone who had ever faced discrimination. And she didn't care that she had neither connections nor budget. Amelia started small. She reached out to a few designers and artists she knew, who also felt sidelined by the elite community. Together, they began brainstorming ideas for a unique event where creativity would be valued above status or appearance. Slowly, she expanded her circle of supporters, attracting many independent creative people who were tired of the industry's snobbery and prejudice. The main challenge was finding funding and a venue. Amelia understood that big sponsors would likely refuse to support an event promoting inclusivity. But she didn't give up. She launched a crowdfunding campaign online, using social media as her primary tool for drawing attention. Her inspiring posts and videos, sharing her personal story, and the vision for the project quickly gained traction. People she'd never met began donating and sharing her messages. The campaign was a success, and soon funds began coming in. The media noticed the project, and several independent bloggers and journalists began covering her work. Amelia caught the attention of a well-known philanthropist who offered his support and helped her secure the perfect venue for the event, a historic theater in the city center, known for hosting progressive cultural events in the past. With every step, Amelia felt her confidence and strength returning. The project was gaining momentum. Along the way, she encountered challenges. Many people tried to throw obstacles in her path, attempting to halt her progress. Some withdrew their support when they learned of the event's purpose, fearing it might jeopardize their relationships with influential figures. But Amelia stood firm. She knew that her mission was more important than the opinions of those who clung to outdated, prejudiced norms. Amelia personally oversaw every stage of preparation, from designing the venue to selecting participants and planning the program. She did everything she could to ensure that this event would serve as a powerful example of how art can unite people and how everyone's creativity deserves recognition, regardless of background. On the day of the event, Amelia stood in front of the historic theater she had rented for the occasion. This was her triumph, her victory over discrimination and prejudice. Above the building hung a large banner that read, "Art for All," symbolizing the event's purpose: to create a space where everyone, regardless of skin color or social status, could express themselves. As the theater doors opened, the audience began filling the hall. People she had once only dreamed of meeting were now coming to her event. Famous designers, artists, musicians, and actors all were there to support her vision. But what mattered most to Amelia was seeing ordinary people, emerging artists, young creatives whom she was giving a chance to be seen. Her mission was to provide opportunities for those who were so often overlooked. She watched every moment carefully. In the foyer, artworks by Black artists were on display, and models walked the runway wearing clothes designed by creators from diverse backgrounds. Every corner of the theater was filled with an atmosphere of creativity, freshness, and freedom. Music composed by young musicians played throughout the venue, creating a unique sense of unity. Among the guests, Amelia noticed Sarah, the very woman who had humiliated her at the party a year before. Sarah stood off to the side, watching the event, her face showing a mixture of surprise and perhaps even regret. She no longer looked like the confident host she had been that unfortunate evening. Now she was just another guest at an event organized by the person she had once dismissed. At one point, when the event was at its peak, Amelia took to the stage to deliver a speech. She thanked everyone for their support and reminded them of why they were there. Tonight isn't just about fashion, art, or music. It's about us, about our right to be heard and recognized for our talents, not for how we look or where we come from. We're here not to prove anything to anyone. We're here because art belongs to each and every one of us. The hall erupted in applause. At that moment, Amelia felt that all her struggles, all her work and patience, had been worthwhile. She hadn't just created a cultural event. She had transformed perspectives, broken down barriers, and shown that art has the power to unite rather than divide. This evening was a symbol of her inner victory. After her speech, Sarah, who was among the guests, approached Amelia. With a shy smile, she said, You've done something incredible. I owe you an apology for that night. Amelia looked at her calmly and simply nodded, knowing that Sarah's words would change nothing now. Her victory was much deeper. It transcended a single apology. Amelia now knew her place was wherever she chose, and no amount of prejudice could ever hold her back again.